911, what is the address of your emergency?
Estates Place.
What's the emergency?
My grandson just got shot in the back when he came in the house, and I don't know if he's okay because it's still out there.
I'm sorry, what just happened?
Imagine receiving a phone call that changes your life forever. A call that tells you your loved one, your rock, your shining star, is gone. Taken away in an instant, without warning, without justice. This is the reality the Goodson family faced on December 4th, 2020, when Casey Goodson Jr., a 23-year-old black man, was fatally shot by Franklin County Sheriff's Deputy Jason Meade. Casey was more than just a name or a statistic. He was a loving son, brother, and father. He was a hard-working young man with a bright future ahead of him. He had dreams, aspirations, and a heart full of love. But in an instant, his life was taken away, leaving behind a family and community devastated by grief. The murder of Casey Goodson Jr. is not just a local tragedy. It's a stark reminder of the systemic issues plaguing our society. Police brutality and racial injustice continue to claim the lives of black people across America, sparking outrage and demands for change. It's a painful reminder that we still have so much work to do to achieve true equality and justice for all. As we delve into the events surrounding Casey's death, the investigation, and the fight for justice, we'll explore the importance of discussing police brutality and racial justice. We'll examine the ways in which systemic racism perpetuates violence and oppression, and how we can work towards a future where every life is valued and respected. Join us as we honor Casey's memory and continue the fight for justice. Let's work together to create a world where no family has to receive that devastating phone call again. A world where every life is cherished and every voice is heard.
I'm sorry, what just happened?
My grandson just got shot
Okay, where did this happen?
at my house. He lives there
Okay,
with me.
so who shot him?
I don't know. I just
Okay.
heard the gunshots, and I would get up, and he's laying in the door.
Okay. And nobody saw anything prior to this?
Let's start this journey together and demand a better tomorrow for all. Do you know who was Casey Goodson Jr.? Casey Goodson Jr. was a bright light in his community, a shining star who touched the lives of everyone he met.
My son was murdered, and there's just no ways around it, and he deserves justice. I mean, the kid had a whole life in front of him. He had plans, he had dreams.
Born on January 30th, 1997, this young man from Columbus, Ohio, had a promising future ahead of him. As the youngest of 3 children to Tamika Palmer and Casey Goodson Sr., Casey was surrounded by love and support from his family. His 2 older sisters and parents were his rock, and he was theirs. Casey's mother, Tamika, described him as a kind and caring person who always put others before himself. He had a heart of gold, always willing to lend a helping hand or listening ear to those in need. His compassion and empathy inspired others to be better versions of themselves. Professionally, Casey worked as a mortgage broker, and his passion for his job was evident in everything he did. He was dedicated, hardworking, and always strived for excellence. But music was his true passion. In his free time, Casey loved to play the piano and guitar, and his friends and family cherished the moments he shared his talents with them. Those who knew Casey remembered him as a talented and creative individual with a bright smile that could light up a room. He was a good listener, always willing to lend a listening ear, and his sense of humor was contagious. Even on the toughest days, Casey could make you laugh and forget your worries. But Casey's impact went beyond his personal relationships. He was deeply rooted in his community, volunteering at local food banks and participating in charity events. He was a proud and dedicated member of his community, always looking for ways to give back and make a difference. Casey Goodson Jr. was more than just a name or a statistic. He was a son, brother, father, and friend. He was a talented, caring
investigation done by the DOJ. This was hours put in, spent in.
Jason Meade will be held accountable, and Casey's death and that accountability will lead to justice for others. In addition to the criminal indictment that has been handed down today, we've also filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against Jason Meade in Franklin County. Obviously, we know what Jason Meade's liability is here. He was an individual that targeted, pursued, and shot and killed Casey from behind walking into his own home. But Franklin County is also liable for Jason Meade's actions.
And compassionate individual who left an indelible mark on those who knew him. His legacy continues to inspire others to be better, to care more, and to love unconditionally. Though his life was tragically cut short, Casey's memory lives on, a reminder of the impact one person can have on the world. What about the events of December 4th, 2020? On December 4th, 2020, a typical day turned into a tragedy that would shake a community to its core. Let's take a closer look at the events that unfolded that fateful day. Casey Goodson Jr. started his day like any other, with a routine that was all too familiar. He woke up early, got dressed, and headed out to pick up some lunch for his family at Subway. It was a small act of kindness, one that showed his love and care for those around him. As he walked back to his car, he was suddenly approached by Franklin County Sheriff's Deputy Jason Meade, who was working as part of the U.S. Marshals Service Task Force. Meade was investigating a separate case in the area and claimed he mistook Casey for someone else. But in a split second, a brief altercation ensued, and Deputy Meade fired multiple shots, striking Casey in the back. Casey collapsed in his driveway, where he was pronounced dead shortly after. The official story was that Casey had a gun, and Meade feared for his life. But eyewitnesses and family members disputed this claim, stating that Casey was unarmed and posed no threat. The autopsy report revealed the devastating truth. Casey was shot 3 times in the back, with 1 bullet piercing his heart. Forensic evidence showed no signs of a struggle or gun residue on Casey's clothing or hands. The evidence painted a picture of an innocent man, gunned down in cold blood. The events of December 4, 2020, raise many questions about the circumstances surrounding Casey's death. How could a simple trip to Subway end in tragedy? Why did Deputy Meade mistake Casey for someone else? And why did he fire multiple shots, striking Casey in the back? The family and community demand answers and justice for Casey Goodson Jr. Casey's story is a reminder that tragedy can strike at any moment, and that justice is not always served. But it's also a testament to the power of community and the importance of standing together in the face of injustice. As we remember Casey's life and legacy, we must continue to fight for the truth and demand accountability for those who failed him. Only then can we hope to create a world where such tragedies never happen again. Its investigation and controversy. The investigation into Casey's death was supposed to uncover the truth, but instead, it raised even more questions. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office and the Columbus Police Department led the investigation, but their initial report only added to the confusion. According to the report, Casey was armed and posed a threat to Deputy Meade, which led to the fatal shooting. But eyewitnesses and family members knew this wasn't true. They disputed the claim, stating that Casey was unarmed and shot in the back. The autopsy report revealed the devastating truth. Casey was shot 3 times in the back, with 1 bullet piercing his heart. Forensic evidence showed no signs of a struggle or gun residue on Casey's clothing or hands. This contradicted the official story and sparked outrage among the family and community. How could the police get it so wrong? Casey's family, led by his mother, Tamika Palmer, demanded answers and justice. They organized protests, rallies, and petitions, calling for accountability and transparency in the investigation.
Let's lift him up, everybody, let's lift him up.
Tamika Palmer and her family shared their story with the media, highlighting the inconsistencies in the official narrative. They also met with local officials, pushing for policy changes and reform. The community rallied behind the Goodson family, showing solidarity and support. Local organizations and activists joined forces, amplifying the call for justice and systemic change. Together, they demanded a thorough and unbiased investigation into Casey's death. They demanded accountability for Deputy Meade's actions and reforms to prevent such tragedies from happening again. The investigation and controversy surrounding Casey's death exposed deep-seated issues within the criminal justice system. It highlighted the systemic failures that allow police brutality and racial injustice to persist. The family's quest for justice continues, seeking truth and accountability for the tragic loss of Casey Goodson Jr. Their fight is not just for Casey, but for all those who have been failed by the system. Through their courage and determination, the Goodson family has sparked a movement for change. They have inspired others to stand up against injustice and demand a better future. Casey's legacy lives on through their fight, and his memory will continue to inspire others to stand up for what is right. Protests and community reaction. On this, the news of Casey's death sent shockwaves across Columbus and beyond, sparking widespread outrage and protests. The community came together, united in their demand for justice and accountability for his murder. Locally, protests were organized by the Goodson family, community leaders, and social justice organizations, with hundreds gathering outside the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. They called for Deputy Meade's arrest and prosecution, refusing to let Casey's death be swept under the rug. As the news spread nationally, prominent figures and organizations joined the chorus of outrage, speaking out against police brutality and racial injustice. The hashtags Justice for Casey and Say His Name trended on social media, amplifying the call for action and mobilizing supporters across the country. Organizations like the NAACP, Black Lives Matter, and the ACLU offered crucial support and resources to the Goodson family, helping to mobilize protests and rallies and push for policy changes and reform. Community leaders and activists, like Tamika Palmer and others, became vocal advocates for justice, sharing their stories and highlighting the systemic issues that led to Casey's death. They spoke of the need for change, of the need to dismantle the systems of oppression that allow police brutality and racial injustice to persist. Through protests and rallies, the community sent a clear message: justice for Casey Goodson Jr., and an end to police brutality and racial injustice. The movement continues, pushing for a better future and honoring Casey's memory. The protests and community reaction showed the power of collective action and the importance of standing together against injustice. Casey's story will not be forgotten, and his legacy will continue to inspire change. His memory will continue to fuel the fight for justice, reminding us that we must stand together against oppression and fight for a world where every life is valued and respected. The community's response to Casey's death is a testament to the power of collective action and the importance of standing together against injustice. By coming together and demanding justice, the community has shown that they will no longer tolerate police brutality and racial injustice. They have shown that they will fight for a better future, one where every life is valued and respected. Casey's legacy will live on through this movement, inspiring change and justice for all. Its legal proceedings and aftermath. On December 17, 2020, a Franklin County grand jury made a crucial decision, indicting Deputy Jason Meade on 2 counts: murder and reckless homicide in the death of Casey Goodson Jr. This indictment marked a significant step towards justice, acknowledging that Meade's actions led to Casey's tragic death. The indictment stated that Meade did cause the death of Casey Goodson Jr. while committing or attempting to commit a felony, to wit, felonious assault. This charge highlighted the severity of Meade's actions and the devastating consequences that followed. The trial began on November 1, 2021, with the prosecution presenting evidence and witnesses' testimony. The defense argued that Meade acted in self-defense, claiming Casey had a gun. However, the prosecution presented a different narrative, one that showed Meade's actions were unjustified and excessive. Throughout the legal proceedings, the Goodson family has remained steadfast in their pursuit of justice. They have attended every court hearing, advocating for accountability and transparency. Tamika Palmer, Casey's mother, has been a vocal advocate for her son's rights, stating, "We will continue to fight for justice, no matter how long it takes." Her determination and resilience have inspired the community to stand with the Goodson family in their quest for justice. The family has received widespread support, with many attending rallies and protests demanding justice for Casey. The legal proceedings and aftermath of Casey's death serve as a reminder of the long and difficult journey towards justice. The family's fight is not just about accountability for Meade's actions, but also about addressing the systemic issues that allow police brutality and racial injustice to persist. The Goodson family's resilience and determination inspire us to continue pushing for change, to demand a world where every life is valued and respected. As we reflect on the journey so far, we are reminded of the power of collective action and the importance of standing together against injustice. The community's support for the Goodson family has been a beacon of hope, showing that we can make a difference when we stand together. The fight for justice is ongoing, but with the Goodson family's courage and determination, we know that we will eventually see justice served. Casey's legacy will live on, inspiring us to continue pushing for a better future, one where every life is valued and respected. Systemic issues and reform. The murder of Casey Goodson Jr. is a devastating reminder of the systemic issues that plague our society. Police brutality, racial injustice, and a flawed criminal justice system have led to countless tragedies, leaving families and communities shattered. To prevent similar heartbreak, we must confront and address these systemic issues head-on. Police brutality, particularly against Black people, is a persistent problem in the United States. Excessive force, racial profiling, and a culture of impunity have led to countless deaths and injuries. Racial injustice permeates every level of the criminal justice system, from arrest to sentencing. Black people are disproportionately represented on death row, and racial bias influences verdicts and punishments.
And he turned and he took off the other direction, running
You
from
say
us.
took off?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you at that point in time? What goes through your mind based on your training and experience, Jason?
That the suspect is trying to flee and elude police officer.
Criminal justice reform is crucial to address these issues. We need to reimagine policing, prioritizing community engagement, de-escalation techniques, and accountability. We must challenge systemic racism, implementing policies and practices that promote equity and fairness. This includes addressing implicit bias, diversifying law enforcement, and investing in community programs that address the root causes of crime. Moreover, we must address the systemic failures that allow police brutality and racial injustice to persist. This includes advocating for policy changes, such as ending qualified immunity, demilitarizing police forces, and increasing transparency and accountability. We must also support organizations and initiatives working towards criminal justice reform and community empowerment. By addressing these systemic issues, we can prevent similar tragedies and create a society where every life is valued and respected. We owe it to Casey Goodson Jr. and countless others who have lost their lives to police brutality and racial injustice. We must continue to push for reform, demanding a better future for all. Casey's legacy. Casey Goodson Jr.'s life was a testament to the power of kindness, compassion, and resilience. A loving son, brother, and father, Casey's infectious smile and generous spirit touched countless hearts. His passion for music and his community inspired others to pursue their dreams and make a difference. Though his life was tragically cut short, Casey's legacy lives on. His story has sparked a movement, inspiring countless individuals to stand up against police brutality and racial injustice. His courage and determination have shown us that even in the darkest moments, we have the power to create change. Casey's legacy reminds us that every life is precious and deserves to be valued and respected. His memory inspires us to continue fighting for a world where justice and equality are a reality for all. Let us honor Casey's legacy by continuing to raise our voices, demand accountability, and work towards a brighter future for everyone. Together, we can create a world where Casey's story is never forgotten and where justice is served. Now let us wrap up everything. The murder of Casey Goodson Jr. is a tragic reminder of the systemic issues that plague our society. We've seen how police brutality, racial injustice, and a flawed criminal justice system can lead to devastating consequences. It's crucial that we continue to raise awareness and push for change. We must support the Goodson family and others who have been affected by police brutality and racial injustice. Let us remember Casey's story and honor his legacy by continuing to push for a better future. We owe it to him and to ourselves to create a society that values justice and equality for all. So, what can you do? Educate yourself about the issues, engage in conversations with others, and support organizations working towards justice and reform. Every action counts, no matter how small it may seem. By working together, we can create a world where Casey's story is never forgotten and where justice is served. Remember, change starts with us. we must continue to push for policy changes, accountability, and transparency. We must continue to amplify the voices of those who have been silenced and marginalized. We must continue to fight for a world where every life is valued and respected. Let's keep pushing for justice and change. Let's keep remembering Casey's story and honoring his legacy. Let's keep working towards a better future for all. Thank you for watching. Rest in peace, Casey Goodson Jr. Your legacy will live on through our continued fight for justice. Let us do this together from now on. Educate yourself about police brutality, racial injustice, and criminal justice reform. Engage in conversations with others about these issues. Support organizations working towards justice and reform, such as the NAACP, Black Lives Matter, and the ACLU. Demand policy changes, accountability, and transparency from your elected officials. Amplify the voices of those who have been silenced and marginalized. Continue to push for a world where every life is valued and respected. Together, we can create a better future. Let's keep pushing for justice and change.